Next on the news, President Biden on the ground in the heartland, hearing from survivors and getting a first-hand look at the devastation from those deadly tornadoes.
I've instructed my team to make you all aware of everything that is available from a federal level.
A retired EMS captain is battling 9/11 terminal cancer while fighting New York City for his pension. And history in the making, Keechant Sewell is poised to become the first woman and third black person to be New York City's police commissioner.
I bring a different perspective, committed to make sure the department looks like the city it serves.
Plus, one of the last living Pearl Harbor vets marking his 100th birthday with a high-flying celebration. I'm Jessica Easthope. Currents News starts now. President Biden visited Kentucky today, surveying the extensive damage in the wake of those deadly tornadoes. At least 88 people, including 13 children, lost their lives when the twisters touched down. Thousands have been displaced. The president also spoke with affected families. Chris Wynn has the latest on the recovery and the president's visit.
As residents in Kentucky cope with death and destruction in the wake of tornadoes and severe storms,
it was really difficult to breathe. I was definitely being crushed.
President Joe Biden traveled to the Bluegrass State Wednesday, getting a first-hand look at the devastation. The president arrived in Fort Campbell for a briefing, followed by visits to Mayfield and Dawson Springs, two of the town's hardest hit.
Where people just come out of nowhere to help as a community. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what America's supposed to be. There's no red tornadoes or blue tornadoes. There's no red states or blue states when this stuff starts to happen.
Over the weekend, at least 88 people were killed in the storms impacting parts of the Midwest and the South, including at least 71 in Kentucky, according to state officials. More than 100 people in Kentucky remain missing, with thousands more still without power.
We are right now delivering life-saving and life-sustaining support, search and rescue operations, the delivery of food, water, blankets, and emergency shelter, providing generators to get nursing homes and medical facilities up and running again.
In Washington, Chris Wynn, Currents News.
Our national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg, is also in Kentucky, surveying the same areas as the president. Right now, he's in Dawson Springs at Resurrection Church. As we reported yesterday, the tornado wiped out everything in the church except for a statue of Mary, and it's the only church for miles. John, you had the chance to walk through the remains of the church with the local bishop, Bishop William Medley. He was born and raised in Kentucky. Has he ever seen anything like this?
No, Jessica, he hasn't. I mean, he, along with the parishioners here, some of which have been with this parish since it opened in 1970, they can't believe what's happened. I mean, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking are some of the words they use. The church, the pews, a lot of them are destroyed. There's glass all over the floor in there. The roof is gone. It's a really, it's unrecognizable almost. And the scary thing is that doesn't even resemble what the rest of the community really looks like. If you travel even a little bit into town, you can't even see the homes anymore. There's cars upside down, trees down everywhere, lawns gone. People are just walking around picking up the pieces of whatever they can at this point. It's no one can really believe what's happened here and the situation that they have before them to try and rebuild and recover from this.
Now, John, this is the only Catholic church within 20 miles. How are parishioners going to go to Mass? Are there any plans?
So the parishioners, what they told me is they really want to get somewhere to celebrate Mass together, to keep this parish community together. So their solution, they're going to start Christmas Eve. They're going to take a steel barn type structure that somebody has in their yard, and they're going to turn that into a parish for the time being. One of the deacons here, he brought the nativity and a bunch of other aspects of the church that survived the tornado to his home. They're going to relocate those to the steel barn, and they're going to recreate their parish community there until they sort out whatever is going to happen to the parish here.
Now, you mentioned rebuilding. How affluent is this community? Do they have the money to rebuild the church and rebuild it so that it can withstand another natural disaster?
So the community in general, the location where the church is really a lower income area. The houses that were hit the hardest are a lot of low income places. People have told me that a lot of these people don't have insurance and don't have the means to rebuild. So it's yet to be seen how they're going to recover from this, and they fear that a lot of people will be forced to move out. As for the church itself, the parishioners here said it's mostly a middle-class community that comes to the parish here, and they said they think they have pretty good insurance for the church. They had someone here today looking at it, a structural engineer is coming, but they did say they're worried. They worry about the cost that could build up here. They're going to start trying to raise money, and they really, at this point, say it's unpredictable if they're going to be able to cover the cost to redo the church as it was before.
John, what's it like when it comes to the rest of the community? Do these people have running water, electricity?
I mean, right now, there's not a lot. I know people are starting to get back on the outskirts of town. People have started to get back water, gas. Things are slowly starting to trickle back and get back to normal. But in the heart of it, where I am right here, I mean, just 2 neighborhoods down from me, if you go in there, you can barely drive through because of the debris. I mean, to be quite honest with you, the last thing these people are really thinking about are those utilities, because their homes aren't even standing. I mean, cars, like I said, cars upside down, trees down, roofs gone. There's a mobile home upside down in the middle on the side of a neighborhood where it once stood. So there's really not a lot left at all. It's completely demolished in all aspects.
And John, President Biden is about to visit Dawson Springs, where you are. What are the parishioners saying about his visit? What do they want from the federal government right now?
So as for President Biden's visit, I mean, what I've basically been told is it's not something a lot of people are thinking about right now. They said that, you know, I guess there's an appreciation there that the president is coming, and that's the right thing for the president to come after what happened. But they're still focused on their neighbors, their community, their family members, making sure people are okay, helping people recover, helping people get on their feet, because it's going to be a very long process to recover from this. And so what they're going to do, as far as what they need from the federal government, I mean, FEMA's here. They've had nothing but praise for the local, state, and federal agencies that have come in to help. They acknowledge it's going to be a very long road ahead to solve this.
All right, John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. Thanks for being with us. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. If you'd like to lend a helping hand to Resurrection Parish and others affected by the tornadoes, just head on over to owensboroughdiocese.org/give and make sure to click on Tornado Relief Catholic Charities for the donation destination. Surrounded by wreckage, over 300 people gathered for a candlelight vigil last night at hard-hit Mayfield, Kentucky. The community came together in prayer for the victims and survivors. They prayed the brokenhearted will be wrapped up in God's love and that the people of Mayfield will hold on to one another as the city begins the long road to recovery. The vigil was hosted in conjunction with Mayfield Consumer Products. That's the company in charge of the candle factory where 8 people were killed. Now, some employees saying when the tornado warning sirens blared, they begged managers to let them leave and take shelter in their own homes. More than a dozen workers say supervisors threatened them with termination if they left their shifts early. Kentucky's governor said the state will start an investigation.
I said, man, you gonna refuse to let us leave, even if the weather's this bad and the tornado's not even here yet? So he was like, if you want to decide to leave, if you want to leave, you can leave, but you're gonna be terminated, you're gonna be fired.
Did they say, no, we're gonna threaten to terminate you if you leave because we think that this is a safety risk and we have to make sure you stay here, so we have
No,
to
sir.
kind of...
No, sir, it was none of that.
It wasn't that?
No.
What you're saying is they wanted the production, they wanted the work done.
Yeah.
Despite the threat of losing their jobs, fearing for their safety, some workers did leave their shifts during early. In addition to the 8 workers killed, there are reportedly still 8 others unaccounted for. Stay with Currents News and the Tablet newspaper for continuing coverage of this tornado tragedy. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg, will be in Kentucky all week with exclusive reports about how the church and its people are picking up the pieces of their lives. A retired city EMS captain may only have months to live, but since getting a terminal cancer diagnosis, he's fighting for his life and his pension. Mike Early walks around knowing his days are numbered.
Flush it, okay?
He has stage 4 pancreatic cancer and was given 1 year to live. That was 7 months ago.
It's debilitating.
I haven't been able to leave the house much. Very, very bad weakness in my legs.
But his battle with cancer isn't the only one Mike feels like he's losing. After working tirelessly since June to get the New York City Employees Retirement System, commonly known as NYSERS, to approve his disability pension, Mike was approved. The pension would give him and his family 75% of his salary. But his work and his waiting is far from over.
NYSERS has been running me in circles since June. I've made it 6 months. What if I don't make another 6 months?
Mike served the city of New York as an EMS captain for nearly 30 years. His cancer is 9/11 related.
They really didn't push masks at the beginning. And when they told us to wear masks, I wore masks. Was it too late at that point? I don't know.
Now Mike wants to make sure his wife and 2 daughters are taken care of when he's gone. After saying there wasn't enough proof of just how sick he was, NYSERS could take up to another 8 months to get Mike his full pension.
If I don't make it past the prognosis date, what happens to my family? What happens to the house that we just brought? Are they homeless?
The agency says 58% of applicants seeking disability pensions get an answer within 4 months. But a World Trade Center union liaison who's also battling NYSERS says the system is broken.
They have prognosis letters, they have oncology and pathology reports. It's simple. Approve him and let's move on to the next unfortunate case.
Mike says now all he can do is pray.
Now I don't have the strength to go to church, but I pray to God all day long. And I'm a firm believer that he understands what I'm going through and he's going to help me.
And hope the city does right by him.
28 and a half years with the New York City Fire Department taking care of the city. How about the city takes care of him now? At this point, all I care about is my family.
Mike is hoping to be officially approved during a NYSERS Board of Trustees meeting next month, but it could take up to 8 months for his full pension to come in. If Mike passes away in that time, his family will have to file a death claim with the city. That could take 2 years. And it's a historic first for the NYPD. Mayor-elect Eric Adams appointing a black woman to lead the country's largest police department for the first time ever. In a press conference Wednesday, Adams named Keechant Sewell as the next NYPD commissioner. The 22-year Nassau County police veteran will replace outgoing Commissioner Dermot Shea, taking over his duties in overseeing New York City's 35,000 police officers, a police force roughly 100 times larger than her previous post.
I am mindful of the historic nature of this announcement. As the first woman and only the third black person to lead the NYPD in its 176-year history, I bring a different perspective, committed to make sure the department looks like the city it serves, and making the decision, just as Mayor-elect Adams did, to elevate women and people of color to leadership positions.
Adams praised Sewell's experience, citing her roles in undercover assignments, gun suppression cases, hostage negotiations, and commanding detective squads. Sewell will take over a department struggling with a rise in gun violence and murders. New York City has had 446 murders so far this year, surpassing last year's total and up 45% from 2 years ago. And so far this year, there have been 1,476 shootings. That's 33 more than the same time last year and double that of 2019. Mayor-elect Eric Adams has chosen the King's Theater in East Flatbush for his inauguration. The Brooklyn-born Adams will be sworn in on New Year's Day. 2 other Brooklyn natives, public advocate Jamani Williams, who won re-election, and the city's next comptroller, Brad Lander, will also have their swearing-in ceremonies there as well. There's a lot more news headed your way. Fighting to get his job back. Why the cop who shot Breonna Taylor wants to be a police officer again. And the Pope has the island of Haiti back on the forefront of his prayers. And you don't have to visit the Vatican to get a glimpse of the Sistine Chapel. It's right here in New York. You just have to know where to go.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
The former Louisville Metro police officer who fired the fatal shot into Breonna Taylor's apartment is fighting to get his job back. Miles Cosgrove was let go after it was determined he fired 16 times without properly identifying a target. Now he is going before a police board to appeal his termination. Travis Ragsdale reports.
I started shooting as soon as I saw the flash, almost simultaneously. It's hard to describe something that happens in like a blink of an eye. I see the gunshot and I return fire.
This is former LMPD detective Miles Cosgrove explaining his version of what happened the night Breonna Taylor was killed. He's appealing his firing in front of the LMPD Merit Board. Cosgrove was fired in part because the former police chief, Yvette Gentry, said Cosgrove did not clearly identify a target before firing 16 shots into the apartment. Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired a single shot at the door as officers came through, and he hit one of those officers. In testimony on Tuesday, Cosgrove says he saw a human silhouette and a muzzle flash, and that's what he was trying to hit. Taylor was killed in the shooting. Walker was not hit. Cosgrove says he still has a hard time dealing with that fact.
Do you regret that Breonna Taylor ended up being shot and killed?
Of course I do. It's horrible. It's made me question faith. It's powerful to have taken a life, and to have to live with that. It's not. I mean, I can't explain to you how regretful and how much grief that it has caused me.
Cosgrove has repeatedly said he thought he fired 4 shots, not 16, into Taylor's apartment, but doesn't deny that's how many he fired, just that he didn't realize it at the time.
That was Travis Ragsdale reporting. Kentucky Attorney General David Cameron said Cosgrove's shot was justified because Taylor's boyfriend fired at officers first. If Cosgrove isn't reinstated by the board, he can try again by going to court. Meanwhile, classified documents about the assassination of the first Catholic president, the JFK files, are about to be made public. The Biden administration is set to release the secret documents as early as today, but we're not likely to learn about a smoking gun that would change our understanding about how President John F. Kennedy died. That, historians say, likely doesn't exist. Tens of thousands of records have been collected by a review board established by Congress, but only a small number of documents are due to be released. Releasing the documents instead is about restoring faith in government. A majority of Americans still do not believe in the official findings that the president was killed by a single gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, acting alone. Turning now to Haiti, plans for a national funeral are underway following a deadly fuel tanker explosion that killed at least 75 people, and news of the catastrophe has reached the Pope.
Povero Haiti, una dietro l'altra, è un popolo in sofferenza. Preghiamo per Haiti. È gente buona, gente brava, gente religiosa, ma sta soffrendo tanto.
Haitian authorities say the fuel tanker exploded after it overturned late Monday night. UNICEF has been pitching in with recovery efforts, offering medical kits to help treat burn victims. And from offering help to offering a unique experience, one New York City exhibit is inviting you to witness firsthand some of history's greatest masterpieces. For a limited time, New Yorkers can get an up-close and personal look with the frescoes that draw about 5 million people each year, one at the heart of the Vatican.
Among the hustle and bustle of gritty Manhattan, a spiritual experience awaits. The Vatican is right outside your front door in a Sistine Chapel exhibit returning to New York City.
Just think of it like you're walking 10 feet underneath the ceiling. You see these from a perspective not even a pope has ever seen.
The exhibit, which features all 34 of Michelangelo's frescoes from the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, was created by Martin Bialis in 2015. Since then, the full-size photographic reproductions have toured the world, attracting people who want to experience God, art, and history through the iconic imagery.
We want to present this for people of all different faiths because this is such a monumental art masterpiece.
The exhibit has been designed to leave all the good of the Vatican experience without the rush or the crowds. And get this, you can take all the pictures and videos you like. The space is even open for weddings.
You're going to come out so relaxed and so inspired.
While walking through the exhibit, visitors are encouraged to use this audio device to learn about the frescoes. If I wanted to know more about the most famous one, the creation of Adam, all I'd have to do is go to the sign, point, wait for the beep, and listen.
For people that want to have this as a spiritual experience, hey, this is a way to go.
Viala says the exhibit has already helped evangelization by drawing in a young crowd to timeless art so close you could touch it.
And this Christmas season, you too can step into the Sistine Chapel like never before. Just head on over to chapelsistine.com and click on the city near you. New York's exhibit ends January 2nd, 2022. Still to come on Currents News, an unforgettable act of kindness by a stranger makes life much easier for a young girl in a wheelchair. The story behind her big smile. And a special 100th birthday celebration for one of the last living Pearl Harbor survivors. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. A teen in North Carolina struggled every day just to get up the steps of her own home. She's in a wheelchair and didn't have a ramp, but that all changed when one Good Samaritan happened to drive down her street. Meet Almay Belton. She needs her father Anthony's help to get up their front steps every day when she gets off the school bus. But after witnessing their struggle, a complete stranger offered to build the family a wheelchair ramp free of charge.
The school bus stopped, and I saw him, what he was going through, getting his daughter down. I knew I could take care of it and went from there.
We need to have more Samaritans out here doing the same thing as far as helping each other instead of putting each other down. We need to be there for each other, and by him doing that, that shows you right there are people in the world that do have hearts, that do care about other people.
The part of the day which used to signal frustration and struggle for Almay now brings a smile to her face. And for the Good Samaritan, Joe Hill says it's all in a day's work. He wouldn't have been able to make the ramp a reality without the help of his team and local volunteers. Finally tonight, a birthday celebration for one of the last living Pearl Harbor survivors. The World War II veteran entered the Century Club with his head in the clouds, figuratively speaking. Jack Holder celebrated his 100th birthday in a classic cockpit, a place he still feels comfortable. Whitney Clark has the Aviator's story from Phoenix.
Mr. Jack Holder flew more than 300 missions as a naval aviator, but today's flight may have gone above and beyond the rest.
When you only fly once a year, you get a little rusty,
On Sunday, Holder climbing into the cockpit of Amazing Grace, a World War II aircraft.
You can put those on if you're ready.
Holder survived the Pearl Harbor attacks. At one point, he had to hide in a ditch. He even went to Hawaii for the anniversary this year and has vivid memories of that day 80 years ago.
But what was really the horror was seeing my shipmates jumping off the ships into the water. It was covered with oil and on fire.
Holder was only 19 at the time. Decades later, he eventually became a commercial pilot, flying high today with a view that will never get old.
I feel like I'd like to do it more often. If I'm on a golf course and I see a plane come over, I can visualize everything in the cockpit.
That was Whitney Clark reporting. Holder's free flight was made possible by a Christian nonprofit called Grounded No More. They take veterans of all ages on flights, hoping it will help them overcome grief or simply put a smile on their face. If you'd like to fund a flight aboard Amazing Grace, just visit Grounded No More veteranflightlift.com. And that is Currents News. I'm Jessica Easthope. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.